you guys didn't see, a wild story came out from The Athletic talking about how Jeudy ended up in Cleveland and not in New York with the Jets. So I want to share that with you guys and talk about what an absolute steal it was for the Browns to get Jeudy from the Broncos. So let's get right into it, as a team of athletic writers, including Diana Rossini, did a very long article about Jets owner Woody Johnson and how he has meddled with the team, undermined the team, and basically why he is the reason why the Jets have the longest playoff drought across all North American pro sports. But one part of it has really gotten wild on the internet, and here's what it is. Douglas, the former GM of the Jets, told the Broncos that Woody Johnson didn't want to make the trade because the owner felt Jeudy's player rating in Madden NFL, the popular video game, wasn't high enough, according to multiple league sources. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, we have Madden to thank for the Browns getting a 1,000-yard receiver for a 5th and a 6th round draft pick. Someone needs to tell Woody Johnson that Deshaun Watson's Madden rating is 99 and Jed Wilson, basically anyone else on this team that's for sale right now. Because the fact that we saw him get in the way of this trade, because later on I kept reading the whole article, which was a very insightful article. And if you know a Jets fan, you should hug them, because what they have to deal with because of Woody Johnson is a war crime. But then again, the Browns aren't too far away from it. But later on in the article, it talks about how Woody Johnson's sons have some type of pull with the team based on what they read from like blog boys online and YouTube like myself, and how they influence the owner, their dad, with Madden ratings and things like that, or other things they see in the media. Which no one tell Woody, by the way, that Jeudy, for some reason, still gets no love on Madden. I was kind of curious. All right, what is he now in Madden? He is just as good as Jacoby Myers and just a little bit better than Christian Kirk in the eyes of the Madden developers. So another crime right there. But this is why I like to say, and a lot of people do, it's not a unique take, it starts at the top, right? When you've got franchises that are consistently picking towards the number one spot in the draft and they can just never seem to get out of their own way, we spend a lot of time blaming the coach and the quarterback. And the reality is, when you have an owner who's consistent like Woody Johnson since 2000, and you've gone through multiple head coaches, dozens of quarterbacks, maybe you should start looking at the one constant, the owner. And this article just put Woody Johnson on blast, talking about how every single twist and turn of the New York Jets has to go around Woody Johnson, and people are walking on eggshells over there, and it's why nothing gets done, and he is constantly undermining his head coach, his quarterback, his GM. He is making moves based on what his sons tell him that their Madden ratings are for receivers. So, unfortunately, while we spend a lot of time as fans, going at each other's throats over pick this quarterback over that quarterback, take this coach over that coach, there is a lot of importance to that, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it doesn't matter what quarterback or what coach you have. If your owner is always going to get in the way and meddle and not just sign checks, step back, and pardon my French, but shut the fuck up, you're never going to have long-term success. Like, you'll have one-off seasons. And I pray that's not what happened to the Browns, but Jimmy Haslam has done a great job of signing checks. The Browns have spent more cash than anyone else the last couple of years. But we would like him, for Andrew Berry's sake, to shut up and step back, because owners are billionaires from other, adventures and other entities. They're not billionaires because of what they did in the NFL, unless you inherited the team and then you refuse to spend money, like the Bengals, for example, because they have no other business fueling their NFL business, so they have to sell TVs to pay for Jamar Chase. But yeah, overarching point here is, this is why it starts at the top. If the owner is bad, it's just going to seep down. And unfortunately, that's happening with the Jets, happening with a lot of teams. And the Browns are not very far removed from that. So hopefully Haslam can read this, see this, and go, man, look what's happening to New York because of their meddling owner. Maybe I shouldn't be in the same club as him. Maybe I should just let the GM do his job and the head coach do his job and just be an owner, make a lot of money, but not try and play like it's a fancy football league. Meanwhile, we have Jeudy to celebrate over, because he has been awesome for the Cleveland this year. I mean, if you think about it, from week 1 to week 15, he has been probably the only consistent good thing on offense. There's been injuries, there's been ups and downs, But Jeudy from the Cowboys game on has been there, and the Browns got an absolute steal. I mean, 4 years in Denver, never got to 1,000 yards. He does that in his first year with the Browns by week 14. He's on pace for well over 1,000 yards at it as well. And for Denver, they got, 2 day 3 draft picks and some salary cap relief. I don't think they would hit the undo button, but I'm sure they're not in love with the success that Jeudy is having in Cleveland in 1 year after 4 years with the Broncos of never getting to 1,000 yards. But we can all thank Andrew Berry, and I know right now he's not the most popular man in Cleveland, but he definitely got this one right. And I was critical of it at the moment, but it has aged so well. 3-year, $52 million contract extension, which was a big gamble for someone who had not played a snap for the team yet, but he was in a contract year, and if he didn't extend him then, and Jeudy had the season which he is having right now, that 52 would probably look something like this. 4 years, 110-ish million. I mean, look at the other signings that were made around the time of Jerry Jeudy's extension. And look at the absolute value the Browns got. I mean, not just from an age perspective, but let's take it one step further. Let's compare the stats of those 4 players and where they rank for wide receiver average salary in 2025, next year. Jerry Jeudy, I'd say of the 4, is having the best season. Nico Collins got banged up, but I'll take Judy's numbers over Collins's. And he is the 23rd highest paid receiver in football next year. Nico Collins is 12th. You can make an argument that Collins is better than Jeudy right now or having a better year, but is it so much better that it's worth paying that many more spots up? Probably not. I mean, compared to Moore and Pittman, how about some other guys that got some big paydays in the recent memory? Calvin Ridley, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, all having worse years than Jerry Jeudy. And sure, Ridley is working with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, and Jalen Waddle missed Tua, and Devontae Smith has no excuse at all, but he missed some time with an injury. Jerry Jeudy had a quarterback for the first 7 weeks, never reached 200 passing yards. He's had a quarterback the last couple of weeks who's thrown to the other team more than his own team. So Jerry Jeudy has been dealing with not a great hand from quarterbacks, and he has had great numbers all year long. So Woody Johnson, thank you. Thank you for making your decision based on Madden ratings, which I guess Woody Johnson still thinks Madden's a good game because the rest of us have moved on from that years ago. But let's show Jeudy some love. Type 3 down below. Let's get 300 likes as well on the video for number 3. Hit that thumbs up button. Now, I want to talk about some other players who have me encouraged for 2025 like Jerry Jeudy. But first, I got to give a big shout out to our friends over at Z-Biotics. Anyone who may not bounce back after a night of drinking as well as they used to, like yours truly, should listen up. Let's face it, when going out, I have a decision to make. I can either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol. Pre-Alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. So stay in the loop and go to zbiotics.com/chatsports or scan the QR code on screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use code CHATSPORTS. From Thanksgiving feast to New Year's Eve celebrations, this holiday season is packed with events. But don't let the festivities leave you less than feeling merry. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic can help you savor the night and seize the next day. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use the code CHATSPORTS at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and, of course, our good times. So Jerry Jeudy definitely has me, encouraged in terms of what the Browns have on their roster for next year, right? I wouldn't call him a rising star. He's kind of well-established at this point. But another guy that has me encouraged for next year at a time where it's hard to find some optimism, how about the year Jack Conklin's had since coming back from his injury? He's had some gruesome knee and leg injuries the last couple of years. He misses the first 5 weeks of the season, starts week 6 in Philly against the Eagles, hasn't missed a game since, hasn't come off the field, hasn't missed a snap since. he's having a pretty solid year altogether. Like, he's not putting up Pro Bowl play, but coming off yet another major knee injury, and since he has stepped on the field, he has not stepped off the field. He's middle of the pack amongst all offensive tackles in the eyes of Pro Football Focus. And I think he has played himself into a really good spot to hang around in the Cleveland for 2025. I know everyone, a couple of months ago was rushing Conklin off the team to get Jed Wills at left tackle and Dewan Jones at right tackle. But suffice to say, of all three tackles, Jack Conklin was the best this year by a mile. So, lesson learned, don't rush a all-pro Pro Bowl player off your team before he even turns 30 years old. So, with that being said, we can look at the contract details. Next year, Conklin has a $19 million cap hit, according to Spotrac, with a $17.7 million dead cap. So there's not a big financial savings to be had by moving on from him, about $2 million. Whereas in 2026, you could save $9 million by moving on from him before the final year of his contract. So I'm 100% on board with bring back Conklin, have him start at right tackle. You're not saving a bunch of money by moving on from him anyway, and he's played really good for you, and this offensive line was a bit of a disaster to open up the year, so I don't think removing one of the most consistent and best pieces is going to improve this unit without having a major savings reward. Following Jeudy and Conklin, another guy that has me on the, half glass full side, we'll call it, of things. What about Isaiah McGuire? Was really excited for Alex Wright this season. Unfortunately, he suffered a season-ending injury early on. But McGuire, I know the stats don't do him a lot of justice. It doesn't pop out as like, wow, this guy's having a monster season. But the eye test tells me otherwise, right? Who do I see more often hanging around the quarterback at the time of the whistle or when the play's done? For me, it's McGuire over Okoronkwo, who unfortunately is not going to be a major free agent signing bust because it wasn't that big of a signing, but he really did not live up to the contract and expectations. So if the Browns don't get an edge rusher early in the draft next year, I'm perfectly content with going it back with Myles Garrett, Isaiah McGuire, Alex Wright, and probably one or two more additions because you always want to have a good amount of depth at that cornerstone position. But Okoronkwo, going into the final year of his contract in 2025, he seems like a somewhat obvious cut candidate. Now, if you release him before June 1st, there's no cap savings whatsoever. But if you use one of your two post-June 1 designation releases on him, you could save $3.3 million. So it's not a ton of money, but at this point, I think it's more about the play you're getting out of him and the roster spot he's taking that's not matching the financial investment that has been made in him. So I'd be a little surprised if Okoronkwo returns for 2025, but maybe the Browns don't think $3.3 million is that big of savings to move on from him 1 year early. Before we let you guys get on out of here, I do want to ask everyone watching to give me your score predictions for Sunday. Browns versus Bengals. Dorian Thompson-Robinson making his first start of the season. He'll have a full week of practice, so hopefully he can get himself in a good, comfortable position because last year the Ravens start was not really a comfortable start for him, given 2 to 3 hours heads up, and then after that it was almost kind of like a revolving door of like, is Watson healthy again? I'm not so sure. What about P.J. Walker? We're going to go with Walker or DTR? Now it's like, no, there's really no confusion about it. It's Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He's getting all the first-team reps. Let's see what the young guy can do. I do want to show some love to the Brown and Orange Club for all their support this entire season. Thank you guys so much for always hanging out with us every single watch party. It's been great to see such great names and familiar faces in the chat, so really appreciate all the support you have shown us throughout the season here at the Cleveland Browns Report. That will do it for us on today's episode. Thank you, Woody Johnson, for Jerry Jeudy.